Hello, Up Radio listeners. This is Brant coming at you from KACT 105.5 FM, listening to Up Radio, where we always get to interview fantastic people, Christian celebrities, legends, current, past, present, and future. And I have on the phone none other than a dear brother, an incredible man, the most published worship artist of the latter 20th century. And more, a writer, you name it. He is on the phone, and it is Dennis Jernigan. How you doing, Dennis?
Hey, I'm doing great, Brant. How are you, brother?
I'm doing good, man. It's always good hearing your voice and talking to you, and very excited about everything that's going on. I mean, even recently, there's been a movie come out, Dennis, and yeah, you know, the first people know about God's Not Dead, but then you have this other movie that's just come out, and I believe it was the among the top 3 Christian movies out. And the name of it...
Wow, it's up there somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, man. Now, what's the name of that movie again?
Oh, it's called Sing Over Me. It's just basically a documentary of my life.
Wow.
Me telling my story in a lot of the places where my story happened. So it was pretty incredible to even have the opportunity to do that. In addition to the film, I wrote my autobiography called Sing Over Me as well.
Wow.
And so my goal being to get as many people in front of the gospel, or get the gospel in front of as many people as possible, because the world considers my story pretty controversial. I don't.
Right.
It's just my story.
Well, brother, you know, you have a story of freedom and deliverance, and you know what, man, I'm so proud of you, and you know, most people that have been introduced to Dennis Jernigan know you from your songs "You're My All in All," or "You're My Hero," or "We Will Worship the Lamb," or "I Belong to Jesus," or "Nobody Fills My Heart Like Jesus," or "When the Night is Falling." I mean, the list goes on and on. How many songs have been published? I know that you've written well over 1,000 songs, but how many?
Yeah, over 400 published.
Oh, wow. You know, all you have to do is go on Google and Google Dennis Jernigan. You're going to recognize these songs. You know, I mean, brother, it's not just because I love you, but I love your songs. And you know, they're still being sang in churches, and rather home churches, coffee shops, you know, all over the world. And again, you know, just the fact that you're out there doing these worship concerts and worship conferences, trainings. I mean, what are you not doing? You're also writing novels. You're doing audio books. I mean, come on, catch us up. What's happening with DJ?
Well, I want to leave a legacy for my kids and my grandkids. Melinda and I this year celebrated 32 years of marriage.
Wow.
Have 9 children. No, we're not Mormon, we're not Catholic, we're not adopted, and yes, we know what causes that. And by September, we'll have 8 grandkids. And I just wanted, you know, one of the things I want to do with my life is leave a legacy of faith, not just for my family, but for the generation of mankind in this sense. I want kids, whether they be, you know, 10 years old or 110 years old, I want people to be able to read one of my novels and come away with a feeling of, what is my purpose? Why am I here? What is the reason for my existence? And then just leading them through a series of fantasy novels. I've written 3 fantasy novels and working on my 4th, but
wow.
the 3 is in a series called The Chronicles of Brant. Brant means tears. It's basically the allegory of my life, but written in terms kids from like age 10, like I said, to 110 can understand. And the first book in the series is called Captured, because I felt so captured by sin in my life. And by the way, these books are not written in a churchy language at all. They're written for lost boys and girls to be able to understand the concepts of spiritual truths, even though they don't know at first what they're getting themselves into. That's my holy plan, is to bring people into the kingdom slowly but surely. And the first book is called Captured because I was captured in my life, and my father came and rescued me, and it's the story of being rescued. And then the second book is the same boy, same protagonist. This book is called Sacrifice. He comes back to the same realm he was a part of in the first book, but this time he's king of the realm, and he wonders how he got there. So book 2 is just looking at all the sacrifice it took on the part of other people to get him to where he was as the king. that book is called Generations. It's the story of his children in that same realm and how they conquered the evil in their day and age. And so it's just basically fun adventures. And the reason I did that is because when I was a little kid, from the time I was about 10 years of age until I was well out of college, I had the same recurring dream every night, because in my childhood, through my teen years, and even into my college career, I felt so trapped by sin that I didn't think there was ever going to be a way out of my bondage. And so as soon as I went to sleep at night, I would go into this dreamland where I was suddenly transported to the USS Enterprise, and my father in his dreams was Captain James Tiberius Kirk.
Oh, yeah.
Every night I had the same dream, Brant. I was captured by aliens, and just at the last minute when I was about to be put to death, my dad, Captain Kirk, would materialize with his phaser, not on stun, but on destroy. I woke up right at that moment feeling rescued. And then for years I thought I was losing my mind, because I thought, why do I keep having this same dream? Well, that was the Lord speaking into my life, and I didn't even know it at the time. But years later, about 10 years ago, I asked the Holy Spirit about that. Why did I have those dreams? And he said, son, that was me. I was wanting you to see that I was there all the while.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to rescue you.
Oh.
And so he basically said, I want you to write a fantasy series for young people, because there are lots of kids out there still to this day, a fatherless generation who don't know what it's like to be loved and accepted and affirmed, and that life is anything but a glorious adventure for them. So I want you to write a book that leads them into the truth. And God will use whatever God wants to use. He's certainly done that in my life. He's wasted nothing. He's not wasted my sorrow. He hasn't even wasted my failure. So I put all of that into my writing, whether it be music or books or whatever I happen to be working on. So I don't know if I answered your question or not, man.
Oh no, you did, bro. You did, and you know, you've been expanding the kingdom for a long time. You've been reaching people for a long time. You know, my wife, Chrissy, my beloved, you know, she was going through a very hard time in her life, and someone gave her a Dennis Jernigan tape, and you know, there were tapes back then, you know, and you know, it made a big difference in her life, and now, you know, now she's one of your friends. You know, you and I and her got to have lunch the other day, and which, by the way, we're going to get to some of that. There's some very exciting things on the horizon. The average Dennis Jernigan fan doesn't even know, but you know, of course, you just you know, you disclosed some of that just now with your novels. You know, I mean, a good songwriter should be a good novel writer, but in your case, you are. And not only are you doing the novels, but you're also doing audiobooks. So you're reading these same ones you're writing, you're reading them and putting them out on an audiobook. And but you know what? When you said that it's not churchy, when you said it's not necessarily to, you know what, I'm thrilled about that, because what churches need to understand more now than ever is that when people come to Jesus, you know, there's that saying, when I came to Jesus, I didn't quit dancing, I just changed partners. You know, when they come to Jesus, they're not space cadets, they're still Americans. And so there's still a language that you have to speak. You know, if a missionary goes to France and says, hey, I'm going to go to France, would you support me? And sure, you know, when did you start speaking French? Well, I don't speak French. Well, if you don't speak the language of the culture, you're wasting your time and their money. But in your case, man, you're speaking the language of the culture with these novels, fantasy novels. Of course, your music goes across the board, in my opinion. I mean, you know. But you know what? Where can people get their hands on all these things you're doing? Is it DennisJernigan.com?
Yeah, DennisJernigan.com is the quickest way, and I have a presence on Facebook as well.
Yes.
But yeah, it's also, all my music's available on iTunes. But it helps me more if people go to my website, actually. So.
They go to you. Now, Dennis, I know that when people hear this interview, I know that churches are going to froth at the mouth to try to have you. And the good news is that you are accessible. You know, you go and you do these worship concerts. Now, obviously, this isn't a hobby, and you know, this isn't done for free or next to free. But something that's always impressed me about you, especially what you're doing now, is that a church can bring you in, or a group of churches can bring you in, and it's easier than people think. I mean, all they have to do is contact you through your website, or or is there a number that you'd suggest that they call to have you come out and do a worship concert?
Well, they can go, of course, to DennisJernigan.com, and there's a place there to request me to come to your church or ministry or whatever. But they can also call 918-685-2268, and my assistant, her name's Annie Kay, would be glad to help them. But yeah,
awesome.
918-685-2268.
Excellent. Give that number one more time, Dennis.
918-685-2268.
That's right. You can speak to a real human being, but now there are things under wraps right now. But you know that I'm wanting to bring you out to West Texas, and of course when you come out, I am going to let the Upright Radio listeners know, because any smart church would snag you if you have one of those nights available that you're already out here to save the traveling expenses. But I tell you what, Dennis, I'm excited as always about you and about what you're doing. And there's something new too, and that is that somewhere on the horizon you're going to be doing some intimate setting coffee shop gigs, which I've never heard of a Christian artist doing, but that's kind of coming together a little bit too. I know you don't want to talk too much about that now, but I'm excited about that, man. What would that be like to go see Dennis Jernigan live, unplugged at a coffee house? Man, that's just unbelievable. And selfishly, I know some coffee houses in West Texas that I want you to come to. You know, so that they can contact the same number and get a hold of you there. I know a fantastic worship leader who loves you and thinks the world of you, and you've made an impact in his life, who wants to have a worship seminar with you. And we won't announce that yet because when we do, we know that we're going to have some great people jump on board and have you at their church as well. So very excited about that. Now, Dennis, whenever you come, do you bring you do these concerts? Do you bring your books with you?
Yeah, I bring books and CDs and everything. We still make everything available as far as possible. So
right.
Yeah, but my whole ministry is just born out of intimacy with the Lord. I mean, I don't know if your listeners know, but I came out of a homosexual identity way back in 1981 and never looked back. And the reason I do that is because it was real, and because I remember being a kid wishing somebody would have told me freedom was possible, and no one ever did. So I'm going to go down with that ship in my life. I'm going to go down with that message that freedom is possible regardless of what you're in bondage to. And so that's what people can expect. The music's born out of my life. I'm not a songwriter. I'm a song receiver. And all that means is I try to walk relationally with the Father. I write down my prayers to Him in music form. I ask Him to let me hear songs of deliverance for my friends. And then I sing over people what I consider God's heart. And we always come away feeling changed in some way at some level and some point. And that's what people can expect when I come. I don't want to waste their time. I don't want to waste my time. I want to jump off into the deep end of the pool as soon as possible. So,
well, you know what?
Said, I look forward to any opportunity I have to share.
Well, and you know what? I'm glad that you went there first, because that's where I was heading. Because you have such an incredible powerful ministry of deliverance in your songs, in your concerts. People can expect to come to the concert and not only hear just unbelievable modern day David songs, but they can also leave actually changed, and I've got to witness that too. You Dennis, you know, I remember seeing you in the early '90s at Western Hills Church in Oklahoma City, and people would come from all over the world to just get into that atmosphere and to hear that and for their lives to be touched and changed, and as you just continued, you know, it's an amazing thing to see. You know, the everywhere you go, there is a need for this message of hope. But you know what? Out here in West Texas, among the top 10 of teen suicide, teen drug addiction, teen pregnancy, the message of freedom and hope and deliverance is needed like it never was before. And we need men of God, men who know how to be men, who aren't politically correct, but they are biblically correct, they're kingdom correct. That's who you are. And I'm just so excited, man, that you're making the stand that you're making against the grain, literally, and very exciting. You know, it's not easy making a stand, is it, when you're going against the political tide?
No, because you find out who your real friends really are, and on many levels, this isn't me showing self-pity. This is just me being real. So many in the church have just fallen to the wayside, and I just feel like sometimes I'm shouting into the wind. But I tell you what, I hear from people literally every day because of the internet, people who won't darken the door of a church, but they'll contact me because of my story, whether it be they want deliverance, freedom from same-sex attraction, or alcohol, or whatever. The answer that I point them to is Jesus. I don't have a cure for anybody. I have the answer, and his name is Jesus. So my whole goal is to point people to Jesus, make them aware God is there, and then let them deal with it in honesty.
Wow.
God's word in John 8:32, you'll know the truth will set you free. Well, if we never get honest, we never get free. So I don't know where I was going with that, but that's
I'll pick it back up. And I mean, you did beautifully, man. And where you're going at is, you know what? You do find out who your true friends are, not only when you're going through a hard time, but when you're taking a stand that is against the tide. You know, people want to know, church people want to know, why don't people come to church anymore? And then the world wants the church people to know, why do you expect us to? It's because for a lot of America, millions of people left the church, but they continued their faith walk. They continued tithing. They continued giving to special needs and all that, and having Bible studies. I saw it with firsthand. I saw it in Tulsa in coffee shops, businessmen who used to be elders and deacons, and quite frankly attracted to churches, sought out by churches for their money. I even had a businessman that was reprimanded for witnessing from door to door, inviting people to church. They didn't want him to witness, they just wanted his money. But then there are the churches that are the real deal. And those churches, I believe, are the ones that when I mention Dennis Jernigan, and we talk about making a stand, they are excited. And they're behind you, man, and you're going to hear from them. And I talked to him. You know, Dennis, I was in Abilene the other day, and I talked to the manager of Mardell there, and just the possibility of you coming to Abilene, and he was just off the charts. And you know, this was a kid. I mean, I think if you're lucky, maybe he was 21. But you know what, though? He knew who you were and he knows your songs and your story. And so, again, in addition to, I believe, the best worship songs, modern worship songs, timeless worship songs, you also have a testimony that is living proof that God can change you. And God, all of us. You know, I mean, I saw a Facebook post that had a marquee. It says, "Don't judge people who sin differently than you do." You know, sin is sin. But you know what, Dennis? Though the other point that you were making is that when you make a stand, sometimes you find out who your real friends are, and at times, I'm sure that God's precious children sometimes aren't always there when they need to be. But you know what? You've got a multitude that are with you. I'm
never alone. I do believe that. It's just your heart breaks. I expect the world to act like the world. It's just when the church acts like the world that it breaks my heart. And yeah. I will say this, as long as I keep hearing from people who have been touched by my ministry, I'll keep gabbing. I'll keep yakking about what God has done for me. I just will. Because even this week, I heard from somebody who I've been praying for quite a while, ministering to, and they just basically went through a period where they told me they'd never wanted to speak to me again. Jesus has done nothing for them. They're leaving their marriage. They're leaving their children. And then I waited for about a year and just prayed, and then I heard from him this very week. He said, thank you for continuing to pray for me and for treated you. I've come to Jesus, and Jesus has set me free. And I said, what happened? He said, I got to the end of myself, and there was nothing there. So wow. He said, Jesus met me in that place, and I need your forgiveness, and I'm walking with Jesus now, and I just needed you to know. And then I hear from people like that literally every day online. That's where I was going a while ago. And then I hear people ask me Sunday, I happened to be at Western Hills last Sunday, as a
Wow.
matter of fact, where it all began. And it was so incredibly awesome. Just the victory that just emanated from that place and still does. And just to have been a part of that in the beginning and to be able to go back was incredible. So I had all these tremendous blessings this week.
Wow.
Hearing people have been set free, but then I hear from one negative person who feels like I'm doing more damage than good by telling people they can be free, and I'm like, are you kidding me? You know, I can hear from hundreds, and all it takes is the one to trip me up.
Well, you're human. You're human, and you got a soft heart, man. And you know, I mean, look at the songs that you've written. I don't think you could have a hard heart and be able to receive those songs that you've received and have written. You know, Dennis, I love you, and you're a dear brother, and I've always believed in you. And anyone that I talk to, I don't run across anyone that doesn't feel the same way, to be honest with you. And you're in this for the long haul. You're in this to the life, and you're in this to the death, brother. And that's something we have in common is we're in it to win it, and it's all or nothing. And I admire you for that. You know, talking about the songs and the way God's used your heart and your writings and your ministry and just the new directions that it's going and expanding. You're about to do another project that people can get behind, and that's exciting. Tell us about that.
Well, it's so funny. People keep asking for the old songs. Even young people want the old songs. So one of my sons, I have 4 sons and 5 daughters, but one of my sons, Ezra, is a producer, and he said, Dad, I've always wanted to produce an album for you, and I want to do it like this. I want it to be just you and a piano and some incidental strings, and that's it, because intimacy is what you're all about. And I want to capture your classic songs, just you, if it was just you by yourself in the living room. And in addition to that, we're going to also record some new songs from Father's heart to those who are listening, because I want this to be just such a deep ministry album, ministry-minded. I want people who know Jesus to be drawn to worship God with all their heart. I want people who have never heard of Jesus wonder how somebody could sing such intimate songs to somebody and feel such hope. I want people who are walking out of bondage to have resources like these songs to say, you know what, the story behind this song is my story. I'm going to boldly proclaim this and speak the truth into my own life. And so we're going down this summer to Tupelo, Mississippi, and recording at American Family Studios. We're trying to raise money for it right now on an Indiegogo campaign, but our goal is to raise $25,000. And that's such a shoestring budget, but we think we can do it, no problem.
Well, you know, that's just 25 people giving $1,000, or that's 50 people.
Right.
That's 50 people giving $500, or that's 1,000 people giving $25. You know what? We can break that down. How would you like for us to maybe be a part of that and you know, mention that on our Up Radio shows is about this upcoming album and encouraging people to do that. That's attainable. You know, that's attainable. When are you wanting to start recording on this?
Well, we've already set recording dates from June 6th through the 10th.
Okay.
And so that's not necessarily set in stone. If I don't come up with the money, I can't do it. But I'm going to figure out a way to do it.
Okay. All right.
I believe God's in it, so I think He'll provide. So.
Well, then we plan on talking to you plenty of times before then. And I tell you what, brother, I believe that it can be done and it needs to be done. You also are good on video with your song "Rise Up," YouTube. And you had some squirrely guy help you with that music video, but people love it. And but it's one of my favorite songs, "Rise Up." Incredible song by Dennis Jernigan. Well, Dennis, a lot of great things going on. Can't wait to bring you to West Texas and to hear more. Go to DennisJernigan.com to listen to the music, to also check out the books and the audio books, and to get involved in this new project, the classic classic songs written by Dennis Jernigan, just you and strings, and you know that's how people love you the best, brother. Because you know at the end of the day, it's great having a lot of great musicians. But you know what? When I come to a Dennis Jernigan concert, if it's just you and the piano, I'm happy. And we know people out there will be happy too. So it's been fantastic talking to you, Dennis, and as always, just excited about your life and your ministry. If you were to name 3 songs that you feel that we ought to play on this show right after this interview, what putting you on the spot, what would 3 of those songs be?
One would be called "When I Worship You." It's from my new album, Days of Awe. Well, new, it's 3 years old now, but it's called "When I Worship You" because it was born out of a time when I really did have to stand alone for my faith, when I was thrown under the bus by the church on many, many ways. And so I decided, you know what, regardless, if no one stands with me, I'm going to stand. And so this was my declaration. It's just called "When I Worship You." And then another one would be "This Is My Destiny" from the album of the same name, "This Is My Destiny," just because if I could only ask the Lord for one song, it would have been that one, just because it's a declaration of who I am and whose I am. And then another one would just be, oh my goodness, one called "Indescribable" from the Days of Awe recording, just because many, many years ago, when I was a young writer, the powers that be in Nashville said, "Jernigan, you need to strike while the iron's hot because someday you're going to run out of song ideas." And I just looked them with such amazement that anyone could say that, because if God is as immense as he says, as he's beyond measure, how could we ever possibly come to the end of describing who he is to us and what he means to us? And so anyway, I say all that to say the song "Indescribable."
All right. I tell you what, brother, it's always good talking to you. Dennis Jernigan, DennisJernigan.com. Check it all out, and we will keep you updated about the new album and about when he's coming to West Texas, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks for being on Up Radio, Dennis.
Thanks for having me, Brant. I love you, buddy.
Love you, buddy. And listeners, we'll talk to you next time on Up Radio.
Gain the prize for the sake of knowing Jesus Christ in me. I cannot yet fully see all I'm truly called to be, but knowing Christ reveals my hope and destiny. He calls me child, he calls me to his side eternally. He calls what once was lost, now found, once bound to sin, now free. He calls me holy, calls me righteous, by the blood redeemed. He calls me overcomer, crowned with victory. My destiny. What once bound me is no more. What was stolen is restored by the to